Welcome to CSS Grid course where you will learn every aspect of CSS Grid along with 5 real-world mini projects. We will learn CSS Grid layout from scratch, so you will learn every little thing about CSS Grids. We will start with very basic stuff and then to more advanced lessons. So are there any course requirement or prerequisite? Yes. To do this project, you must have the following skill sets. You should be comfortable with HTML. Not everything, but the fundamental like p tag and div tag. And you should know basic knowledge of CSS, like simple CSS styling. Course objective. Participant will be able to implement advanced CSS grid concept in projects at college level or at industry level. What will you learn in this course? You will be able to create projects using CSS grid. You will be able to understand CSS grid system. We will be using Font Awesome for our projects. You will be able to create responsive layout using CSS Grid. Who are the targeted students? Students with no CSS Grid or web development experience. Front-end developers. Anyone who want to learn CSS Grid. So by the end of the course, you will have the following skill sets. Hand-on regarding practical and real-life scenarios of creating projects using CSS Grid. You will be able to build complex layout with few lines of code. You will also learn to create responsive layout for mobile device. So let's get started. Welcome to introductory video to CSS Grid Layout. So what is CSS Grid Layout? CSS Grid Layout is a 2D grid system. It will completely change how we build our layout. Like tables, it will give you columns and rows to work with. It will divide your page into region. To use CSS Grid Layout, we need a grid container. This container is basically a set of horizontal and vertical lines. Respecting this vertical and horizontal lines, our rows and column elements are placed. CSS Grid Layout gives fixed and flexible text size, item placement, creation of additional tracks to hold content, alignment control, control of overlapping content. So let's understand this one by one. Fixed and flexible layout. You can create fixed size track using pixel unit, or to create a flexible size there is a FR unit. Don't worry about this. We will cover this in our future lectures. Next item is item placement. As the name suggests, it is how you place item in your grid. The third one is creation of additional tracks. Sometimes when CSS grid layout will add content, automatically it doesn't fit to your defined tracks. Then you can also deal with that using CSS grid layout property. We will also cover it in this course. Then we have alignment control. It means how you align items in your tracks or your tracks inside your container. It is a bit confusing, but don't worry, it will be completely normal when you will progress through this course. And the last one is control of overlapping content. So this means you can also do overlapping with CSS grid layout and use Z-index property which is provided by CSS to create some cool effect with our overlapping. So here is the end of introduction video to CSS grid layout. In the next lecture, we are going to start working with CSS grid. So I'll see you in the next video. Hello friends, in this video we will start coding our CSS grid layout. So we need code editor for that. So I am using Visual Studio Code. So if you don't have Visual Studio Code, then you need to go to Google and search for Visual Studio Code. So this is the very first link. If I click on it, so from here you can download. If you are using Mac, then you can just click on it and it will start download. And if you are using Windows, then you will get it from here. Okay. So once you download it, then you need to install it on your PC. So I have already installed Visual Studio Code in my PC. So I'll close this and I'll open with my Visual Studio Code. So I have created a folder on my desktop with the name CSS layout. Okay, right now there is nothing in this folder. We need to create files. So I need to close this and we need to go to Visual Studio Code and we need to open that folder. So I'll click on File, Open, and this is the folder which I have created, CSS underscore layout. I will click on Open and I will close this welcome file. And inside this folder, I will create a file. So to create, we need to click here, New File, and I'll give the name as Working with Grids.html, and I will press Enter. So once this file is created, then we need a starter code. For that, I will write HTML colon and I'll then press tab key. So once you press tab key, this starter code is available. And let me save this file. So you might be wondering that I have wrote only HTML5 colon and then press tab key. So this code appeared. So how this happened? So I'm using an extension called Emmet. This extension is an inbuilt feature in Visual Studio Code. So if you type anything like, say, I want a div, and inside that div, I need a class test. So what I'm going to write is div dot test, and I'll press tab. So this will be a div, and inside there will be a class called test. So this is the shortcut key. So I'll remove this and I save this file. So what is Emmet? So here, if you can see, Emmet is a set of plugins for text editors that allows for high-speed coding and editing in HTML, XML, XSL, and other structured code format via Code Content Assistant. So it provides a lot of shortcut keys which you can use to write a bigger code. So I will close this and let's go back to Visual Studio Code. So to create a grid layout, we need a grid container. So I will take a div with a class container and I'll press tab. So this is a div with a class called container. So instead of container, you can give any name you want. Now inside this div, I need 6 more divs to demonstrate our CSS grid layout tutorial. For that, I will write a shortcut which is div dot item hyphen. This is the name of the class and we need 6 divs. So dollar into 6 and then I will press tab. So we got 6 divs. And now inside this, I will write the item names. Okay. To select everything at one go, I will press Option, Command, and down arrow. Okay. And then I will write item 1. So now we need here item 2, we need here item 3, item 4, item 5, and item 6. So this shortcut key, Option, Command, and down arrow key was for Mac users. As I'm using Mac, so I don't know what is the shortcut key for Windows. Okay. So you can type it manually. And we need to save this file. And I will open this file in Firefox. I am using Firefox and not Chrome browser. Okay, so if you don't have Firefox, then you need to go to Google and search for Firefox, and you need to download Firefox and install it on your machine. So I have already installed it, so I will close this as well, and I'll open this file in Firefox. To open this file, I am using an extension called live server. So we need to go to extension and here I will search for live server. So here is the extension. So I've already installed it and enable it. Okay. So I need to close this. So you also install and enable this extension. Once you enable this extension, here you can see it is written go live. So we need to click on this. So I'll copy this part. I'll close this and I'll go to Firefox and here I need to paste it. Then I need to go to Visual Studio Code. So let's go to Visual Studio Code and I'll just minimize it. So and I'll click this so that you can see the window properly. The benefit of live server is that whatever changes I do here, it automatically refreshes here. Okay. So if I change this to 7 and I save this, so here you can see it automatically refresh the file. Okay. So let me go back to 6 and we need to save. Once you save, it automatically changes. So here in the title, I will write CSS layout and I'll save this. So as you can see, CSS. Okay. So as you can see, the title has changed to CSS layout. Now I will do some basic styling for our container. For that, after this title, I will write style and I'll close this. And inside this, I'll write the class container and I'll open and close brackets. And here I'll write background color, which is equal to EEE. Let me save this. Once you save this, you can see a background color here. Okay. Now we have 6 divs. So I will add some colors to every div. For that, I will write item hyphen one, and then I'll copy this 6 times, and then I'll change the names. Okay. Item 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Because here are the class item 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Now for background, I have created a text file. So let me open that text file. So these are the backgrounds which we are going to use. So here I will write background color. First one is, let me copy this and I'll paste it here. Second one we need to copy, and here I will write background color, paste it. Third background color. Then this is the background color which we need for third item. Let me close this and let's save this file. So once I save this file, you can see all the divs got some different colors. So each div got a different color. So here I have given 2#. I'll remove this and I'll save this. Okay. Now we need to give display property grid to our grid container. So here I will write display colon and grid. Okay. And I save this. So here nothing changes because we have not done anything for rows and column. So the first property is grid hyphen template hyphen column, and it will set the layout for columns. And I want 3 columns with the width as 150 pixels. So I will give 150 px, 150 px, 150 px, and let's save this. So as you can see, we got 3 columns side by side with a width of 150 pixels each. And after this, it fall down to another 3 columns with the width of 150 column each. And we can also set the row height. For that, I will write grid hyphen template hyphen rows, and then I'll give 150 px, 150 px, and let's save this. So I have written 2 times because we have only 2 rows. Okay. So each row got a height of 150 px. Now if you want to change the value of column, you can do it by writing here 200 pixels, and let me save this. So as you can see, the second column width will be more wider than the other two. Now back to 150. Okay, let me save this. Now if I increase the width of third column, if I give 300 and save this, so it will be double than the others. Okay, now back to 250. Save this file. Now you can also do it for rows. So if I change this to 200 and save, so you can see the first row height has been increased. So let's get back to 150 again. If I save this, so it is back to normal. So we can also create a gap between our columns and rows. So for that, I will write a property which is called grid hyphen columns hyphen gap. And I need a gap of 10 pixels. If I save this, as you can see, there is a gap between the columns of 10 pixels. Now similarly, we can do it for rows. So here I need a property which is called grid hyphen rows hyphen gap, and I need a gap of 10 pixels. If I save this, grid hyphen row hyphen gap, which is 10 pixels. So as you can see, we got a gap between the rows. So we can increase the gap by 20 pixels also. So now you can see there is a gap in between the row of 20 pixels. You can give as much as you want. Like if you want 30, you can give it 30. So I'm going back to 10 pixels. Okay. So in this way, you can set different size of gap between columns and different size of gaps between rows. So in this tutorial, we have learned how to create a simple layout and how to use different properties to create our rows and columns and space between them. In the next tutorial, we will use percentage unit and repeat. So see you in the next video. Till then, take care and bye bye. Welcome back to another lecture. In the last video, we have created simple CSS layout using our few properties and created a gap between our columns and rows. So in this tutorial, we will use percentage unit instead of our pixel units, and we will use repeat. So let's get started. So in order to use percentage unit, I need to define height of my container. So I will use a height property. So here in the container class, I will use height property, which is equal to 100 VH. VH means viewport height. Okay. Let me save this. So now as you can see, the container height is 100 VH. Okay. So let's go to Visual Studio Code. Now let's say I want to expand each column to 30% of my total grid container. So here I will write 30%, 30%, and 30%. Let me save this. So as you can see, now it is expanding to 30% each. Now you can also do it with rows. So I want to give a height of 25% to each row. So here I will write 25%, 25%, and let me save this. So now to test it, I will give 35% to the second row. So here if I give 35%, so now this is 25% and this is 35%. Now get back to 25%. And now I will give 15% to the first row. Let me save this. If I save this, now this is 15% and this is 25%. Now let's get back to 25%. Let me save the file. Now you know how percentage work instead of pixels. Now we will see how to use repeat. For that, first I will get back the values as 150px. So I'll remove this percentage and I'll get back the values as 150px each. And here also I will get back the values to 150px. Let's save this. So now we are back to the normal template. Now it may bore you to write 150 pixels 3 times. So for that, CSS Grid layout also provide you something which is called repeat. So here we need to write repeat and then round brackets, and we need to remove this, and inside round bracket I will write 3 comma 150 px and I'll close the round brackets. And if I save this, nothing changes. What it does, it prints 150 pixels 3 times because you said to repeat it. And I can also do it here for rows. So repeat, round bracket open. This is 2 times and the height is 150 px. Let me save this and it works. So to test this, we can also write instead of 150, I will write 250 px and I'll save this. So it is working perfectly. You can do it for columns as well. So here I will write 250. And if you save, the column width changes to 250. Now if you only want to change the width of second column to 200 pixel, for that I will write 100 px, 150 px, and here 100 px. Now we wanted 200, so I'll write 200. And here I will write 1 instead of 3. And let me save this file. So the first column is 100 pixels, second one is 200, and the third one is 100. So like this, you can also use various width using repeat function. So in this tutorial, we have learned how to use percentage instead of pixel and how to use repeat. So in the next tutorial, we will learn about fraction unit. So I will see you in the next video. Welcome back friends. In the last tutorial, we left with something like this. So let me do some cleanup. So now we are back to normal. In this tutorial, we will use fraction unit, and this is also recommended to use in your CSS layout. Now let's say I want my first column to be 150px, second column to be 150px, and the third column should expand to the full width of our grid container, but we don't know how much space it will occupy. For that, FR unit is useful. FR stands for fraction of available space. If I change the third column to 1 FR, and if I save this, now you can see the first column is 150px, second column is 150px, and the third column, which has a unit of 1 FR, expands to the full width of our grid container because it uses the full available space of its parent element. So you can also do it with rows. Let's say I want the last row to be 1 FR, so it also expands to the maximum. So here if I change 150 to 1 FR, and if I save this, so as you can see, it expands to the full height of its element, which is our div container. Now we can also change the columns to 1 FR. So if I change this to 1 FR, and here also 1 FR, and if I save this, so here our three columns have full width as our container. So it will divide in three equal parts because we have given 1 FR to each. So it will divide the space into three. So the first column got one third of the total, second column will got one third of the total, and the third one also got one third of the total. And here you can give repeat also. So if I give repeat, and if I open the round brackets, and here if I give 3, comma, and if I save this, nothing changes. It works. And you can also give different size of fraction, 1 FR for the first column, 2 FR for second column, and 1 FR for the first column. And here we need to change it to 1. And let's save this. So now 1 FR is for the first column, 2 FR is for the second column, and 1 FR is for the third column. So the first and the third column has same width, but the second one has double width. And one more thing, you can use percentage with the fraction unit. For that, I will use 1 FR, 1 FR, and here I will write 50%. Let me save this. So the third column got 50% width and remaining space is divided between the first and the second column. Now let's say if I give a column gap of 100 pixel, now let's see what happens. The third column remains the same, but the first and the second column width narrows. Why? Because FR unit is based on the available space and it increases the space between the columns. So the width of both the columns get narrower. That's why we have small blocks instead of large ones. So let me undo this and save this. So we have a normal block. So this is enough for this tutorial. And in the next tutorial, we will see how to change the position of grid cells. So I'll see you in the next video. Hello friends, welcome to very first mini project. In this lecture, we are going to build the service section, which will have this title and the 6 services. So before we write the code, I will show you the folder structure. For that, we need to go to Visual Studio Code. And here in this folder, CSS underscore layout, this is the main folder. Inside this, I have created a folder with the name project-1, and inside this folder I have created one more folder with the name CSS, and inside this folder I have created page.css file, and in this page.css file I have applied simple CSS which reset all styles like margin 0, padding 0, box sizing. And now let's see project-1.html. So here I have included font awesome icon, then I have used Google font which is Roboto. Then we have base.css file and then project-1.css file. And I have given a class of container to our body tag. And in our project1.css, there is nothing. Now we will start working on this project. So let's get started. So in project1.html file, here I will take h2 tag to create our title. So h2 and the title is services. And below that, I will take a section tag with a class which is equal to services. And inside this section tag, I will take a div with a class service. And inside this div, we will have our icon. So I class equals to far, sorry, fab. The icon name is fa hyphen Android. And then we will have a title in h4 tag. So the title is Android development. So Android development. Then we have some description in p tag. So let's save this. Now we have added all the elements which are required. Now let's check in the browser. So here I will click on go live as I'm using live server. So here as you can see we got our main title services, then the icon and the title and then some description. So now let's add all the other elements, then we will do styling. So let's go to Visual Studio Code and I'll copy the entire div and I'll paste it 5 times. So total we can get 6. So I copied and pasted 5 times. Let's check in the browser. So here as you can see, we got all the 6 services. Now I'll change the text. So first is Android development, then web designing. So let's copy this web design. Then we have content writing, SEO, email marketing. Okay. So SEO, email marketing. So I need one more div. Okay. So let's copy and paste it here. And then we have SMS marketing. Okay. So SMS. Let's save this. Let's go to the browser and check. So the content has been changed. Android development, web design, content writing, SEO, email marketing, and SMS marketing. Now we have our 6 services and the main title. So now let's do some styling. For that, I will need to go to Visual Studio Code and in project1.css, I will style body, which has a class of container. So container, and I need padding of 0.8 rem. Then I need margin top of 2 rem. So these are the shortcuts which can be used because I'm using Emmet. So this is the shortcut for that. Okay, let's save this. And now let's check in the browser. So we got some padding. Next, we will style this main title. So let's go to Visual Studio Code. So I will access h2 tag because our services title is in h2 tag. So, so our main title services is in h2 tag. So I will access the h2 tag and inside this I will give some styling. So font family will be Roboto. Then text transform will be uppercase. Then we need text align to be center and we need some color for the text. So color is 0984E3. Then we need font size, which is 3 rem. Then we need margin bottom, 2.6 rem. Then we need font weight 100. Let's save this. So this is the style for our H2. Now let's check this in the browser. So as you can see, we got the main title styled. Now we will see how grid works. For this, Let's go to Visual Studio Code and let's go to project1.html. So now all these six services are inside this section tag. So section is the parent of this six services, and this section tag has a class services. So we can use this services class as our container. Now let's write some code. For that we need to go to project1.css, and here I will access the class services. So dot services, and inside I'll give a display property with the value grid. We have six services. I want to place three services in one row and then three services in the second row, just like this. To achieve this, we can apply grid template column to 1FR, 1FR, and 1FR. And for second row, we don't need to apply grid template row because as we add more divs to this grid container, all the divs will be dropped down automatically. So let's see this in action. So here in project1.css, I will add the property grid hyphen template hyphen columns, and I'll give one fr, one fr, one fr. So let's save this and let's check in the browser. So now all the services are placed, but there is some styling needed. So first we will apply some column gaps and row gaps. Okay, so for that we need to go to VS Code, and here I will write grid hyphen column hyphen gap, which should be 30 px, and grid hyphen row hyphen gap will be 30 px. Let's save this and let's check in the browser. So now we got some gap in between rows and columns. Now grid styling is done. Now only thing is we need to add styling for all this service box. So first we will style h4 tag. So let's go to Visual Studio Code and I will access h4 tag. So h4 curly braces open close, and here we need the property as color. So color will be 74B9FF. Then we need font weight 500. Then we need font style italic, and then font size 1.5 rem. And I need font family and text transform for both H2 and H4. So I'll cut this, and here I will write H2, comma H4, and curly braces open close, and I'll paste this. So this styles will be applied to H2 and H4. Let's save this and let's check in the browser. So we have done the styling for our titles. Now let's change the icons because right now all the icons are same. So we need to have different icons like this. So let's go to Visual Studio Code and need to go to project1.html, and here I will change the icons. Okay. The second one is desktop. Then we need book. Then we need search. Then we need envelope. Then we need comments. Let's save this, and all this should be FA. So I will select all at once by pressing Command D. If you are Windows user, then Control D. Okay. So I need FA. Let's save this and let's go to the browser and check. So as you can see, we got all the icons, all the different icons. Now we need to style these icons. So for that, we need to go to Visual Studio Code. We need to go to project1.css, and I will access the icons by writing dot service, and I will access I tag, and then inside this I will add some properties. So color will be 74B9FF. Font size is 35 pixels, so 35. px. Then I need margin bottom 10 px. Let's save this and check in a browser. So the color of this font has been changed, but the font size doesn't change. So, okay, font size. Let's save this. Now the font size has been changed. It was a mistake. Now we will add this card effect. So for that, I will access the class service. Okay, let's go to Visual Studio Code, and here I will access the class service because in project1.html, so this is the class service. So if we add some properties, so this entire div will get that property. So here I will write background, and the background color is F9, F9, F9. Padding is 1.5 rem. We need to give box shadow. Text align should be centered. So let's save this and check it in the browser. So this is the file. So we got the card effect, but we need some styling to be done. So there is some different styling. So let's check in Visual Studio Code. And the container, the padding is 0 and 8 rem. And there was one more mistake, which is this font size is 1.5 rem. Let's save this and let's go to the browser and check. So now we got the style, which is here. Now still there is something, the text is too much. So what I'll do is I'll remove some text. Let's copy this and let's paste it. Save this and let's go to the browser. So now the text is little bit lesser than what we had. Now I need margin bottom for this paragraph. So here in project1.css, I'll write service and then I'll access the p tag. Here margin bottom will be 10 px. So 10 px. Let's save this and now let's go to the browser. So if we refresh, okay, so it is refreshed. And as you can see, we got margin bottom for the p tag. So this is how you can use CSS Grid to create simple layout like this. And we will create some more interesting projects in the coming lectures. So see you in the next video. Welcome back, friends. In this tutorial, we will see how we can change the position of our grid items. So first, I will roll back to the normal position. So here I will write 150 px, 150 px and 150 px. Okay, and here also 150 px. Let me save this. So now we are back to normal position. Now I want to change the item 6 to be on the first row and second column. For that we have a property and one of them is grid row start. Right now I want item 6 to change position. So we need to go to style of item 6. So here is the class item hyphen 6. So here I will add a property grid hyphen row hyphen start. And we need the item to be in the first row. So I will write 1. And we need to end this also by writing the property grid hyphen row hyphen ends. And we need to end this at row 2. Let me save this. So as you can see, the item 6 has moved to first row and first column. So grid hyphen row hyphen start 1 means the first row, it will start from first row and it will end at the second row. So this is the second row, it will start from first row and it will end at the second row. Okay. And now we will change its position to second column. For that, we need to write a property which is grid hyphen column hyphen start. We need to start this at column 2 and we need to end also. So we need to end this item at column 3. Okay, let me save this. So we started from column 2 and we ended at column 3. So this is the first column, second column, third column. So we need to start it from second column and we end at the third column. Okay. So in this way we have changed the position of the item number 6. So as you can see, this is a lot of code: grid row start, grid row end, grid column start, grid column end. To avoid this, we have a shortened property. For row we have grid hyphen row and we need to start it from first row and end at second row. Okay. And for column we have grid hyphen column and it will start from second column and ends at third column. Okay. And now I will comment this out and this is, and I will also comment this out. Let me save this. So once I save this, nothing changed and it works. And even we can make it in one line. So for that, the property is grid hyphen area. First, it will be for row from where I want to start. So I will write 1. Okay, we need to start it from first row and then from where I want to start the column. So I want to start from the column 2. Okay, now where I want to end the row. So I want to end it at 2, second row. Okay, and now where I want to end my column. So I wanted to end my column at 3. So let's comment this out and let's save this. So nothing changed and it worked. So this is little bit confusing. So I would prefer that you use grid row and grid column instead of grid area. Okay. So I will undo this and I'll remove this. Okay. This is much more easier than the grid area property. Okay. So in this lecture, you have learned how to position grid item wherever you want. And in the next tutorial, we will see how you can overlap one grid item on another item. So I will see you in the next lecture. Welcome back. In this tutorial, we will learn how to overlap grid items. So what is overlapping? Overlapping means placing one item on another item. But before that, let's look at spanning the grid cells, which means extending our grid cells. So before we start coding, I will remove this height property because we are not using percentage, so this property is not required. Let's save this and nothing changed. Now I want item number 4 to span two columns. So I need to go to the class item hyphen 4 and here I will use the property as grid hyphen column and it will start from second column and ends at fourth column. So it will span two columns and if I save this, as you can see, our item number 4 is spanning two columns and item number 5 is given another column by CSS Grid layout. So why this happened, that we will discuss in some other lecture. So why our item number 4 spans two column using grid column property? To understand, let's do some math. Here I am defining value as 2 and 4. That's why it is spanning 2 because 4 minus 2 gives us 2. That's why it is spanning two columns. So if we see here, it is 2 slash 3 means 3 minus 2, 1. So it is spanning only one column. Let's look another example. This time we will use item number 1. If I use grid hyphen column which starts from first column and I want to span two columns. So I will give as slash 3. So 2 minus 3 minus 1, 2. So it will span two column. So if I save this, so item number 1 is spanning two columns but it falls down to another row. Why this happens? Because here in our class item number 6, we have defined where to put item number 6 explicitly. So if item number 1 spans, it will not touch item number 6. But what if I want to make item number 1 remains there? So for that, I also have to specify it. So here I will write grid hyphen row which starts from 1 and ends at 2. Let's save this. So it is back at its position. As you might be wondering that item number 1 is not spanning 2 columns, but actually it is. Why? Because item number 6 is overlapping item number 1. So if I want to show item number 1 spanning 2 column, I will use CSS property called Z index. So here I need to give Z index 100. Let's save this. Now you can see item number 1 is overlapping item number 6. Now you will be wondering, where is item number 6? So item number 6 is behind item number 1. So if you want to check, you just need to inspect. Let me minimize, and you just need to inspect this, and we need to go to the parent div, and here you need to select layout, and you need to check this. So this is item number 1, this is item number 6, which is overlapping by item number 1, and this is item number 2, this is item number 3, this is item number 4, and here this is occupying by item number 4. Okay, so item number is spanning 2 columns. So this is another row which is having item number 5. So Mozilla Firefox provides you with this amazing thing to check your grid layout, and you can also view your lines. So if I click here, so it is already clicked. So here you can see the line numbers, and there are few more options that we can talk in future lecture. Okay, so now you know how to span grid cells to more columns, and you can also do it with rows. So you can span grid cell to multiple rows. So let me close this and let's go to Visual Studio Code. So there is one more thing which I wanted to show. So if I go to item number 4, let me comment this property. So you can also do spanning with the help of span. So if I write grid hyphen column, so I need to start from second column and I want to span 2 columns. So I'll write slash span and 2. It means that start from 2 and span 2 columns. So now if I save this, so it is giving me exact same result. And one more thing, what if I don't want to specify how many columns I want to span and I want to make it to the end? For that we also have -1. So here if I remove this and put -1 and if I save this, this will also give me the exact same result. So you can also do it with item number 3. So here I'll write grid hyphen column. I want to start it from 1 and I want to make it till end. So here I will write slash -1. Let's save this, and as you can see it will span from start to end. So the difference between spanning and overlapping is that spanning is extending the width or height of grid cell and overlapping means placing one item on another. So in this lecture we have learned about overlapping and spanning grid cells. You can also do it with rows using grid rows. In the next lecture we will build a simple blog post layout. It's time for one more mini project. So see you in the next lecture. Welcome back to another lecture. In this video, we are going to build this nice looking layout. In this layout, we have 1, 2, and 3 rows, and this 1 and 2 columns. So it will be interesting and simple. So let's go to Visual Studio Code, and first we will create a folder for our project 2. So this was our project 1. Now in this is the main folder, CSS underscore layout. In this I will create one more folder. For that we need to click here. Okay, and here we need to write project hyphen 2, and in this folder I will create a new file with the name index.html, and here we need a starter code. For that I will write HTML colon and tab key, and this title will be project 2. Let's save this. And we need Google font. For that, we need to go to project one, and in project1.html, I'll copy this Google font link. We don't want Font Awesome, but we want Google font. So I'll copy this and I'll paste it here. Let's save this and let's close this project1.html. We don't require. Now in this project one folder, we were having CSS folder, and in that there was a base.css file. So I'll make this CSS folder as a global folder because we need base.css for all our project. Instead of keeping it in project one folder, we will take this out of this folder. So I'll just drag this, and it is asking me, are you sure you want to move CSS into CSS layout? Yes, it will move out to our main folder. So now this project one and project two are separate from this CSS. Now in project two, in index.html, I will link this base.css file. For that, I will write link rel, which is equal to style sheet. Here we need to write href equals to, and then we need a path. So dot slash css and base.css. We wrote dot slash because now our CSS folder is in the root directory. Okay. And let's close this tag. Let's save this, and in project -2 folder, we will create one more file with the name project -2.css. We need the CSS file. Right now it is empty. Let's go back to index.html, and we need to link that file. So here I will write link rel equals to style sheet and href, which is equal to our project.css. Let's close this tag. And in body tag, I will take a class which is equal to container. So let's save this. So now our folder structure is ready and we are ready to code. Okay, so this was our project one, project two, and the common CSS folder which is having a base.css. Okay, so you know that base.css having some common styling, so we required for every project. So we will use this base.css for all our projects. So now coming back to project 2 index.html, let's check the layout. So first we will add the title, then the image, then some text, then this subtitle and few more text. Okay, so let's go to Visual Studio Code, and here inside body tag we need a section tag, and inside we need a class about -us. Okay, so now in this section we will take h2 tag, and the class we need is section title. I'll close this tag, and inside I'll write about us. Okay, let's save this. And then we need image. So after h2 tag, I will write image src, which is equal to http:// and here is the path. So pixum dot photos slash the size of the image, which is 850 by 400 question mark image, and which is equal to 1073. So here is the closing code. Okay, so I'll close this tag, and after this image tag, so we got the image and the source is pixum. Okay, so next is our text. So here we need a p tag with the class text -1, and inside we need some dummy text, so I'll write lorem 10. Okay, so we got some dummy text. Option Shift F to format the text. Let's save this, and after that we need a subtitle. So I will take one more p tag with a class which is sub title, and inside I'll write history. Then we need some more text, so I need a class which is, sorry, I need a paragraph with a class which is text -2, and inside I need some dummy text, so lorem, and I'll press tab. Okay, Option Shift F to format the code. Let's save this and let's check it in the browser. Okay, so we need to click here, go live. So I'll copy this and I'll go to Firefox and I'll paste it here. So we got our title, image, some text, subtitle, and then some more text. So we got all the elements. Now, next thing is that we need to use CSS Grid. So let's do it. So we need to go to Visual Studio Code, and in project 2 CSS, we need to access container class, and here I'll give some padding. So I need a padding of 10 pixels. Let's save this and then let's check it in the browser once. So we got some padding from top, right, bottom, and left. Okay. Then we need to go to index.html. Now, as you can see, all these elements are in this section. Sorry, this class name is about us. Sorry, there was a typo. So as you can see, all these elements are in this section. So this can be our grid container. Okay. This class can be our grid container, and the elements inside this can be our grid items. So we will give display grid to about us class. So let's go to project2.css and here I'll write about hyphen us and here I'll give display grid. Okay. And now we will add rows and columns. So we need two columns and three rows. Okay. So first I'll give column. So grid template columns. So we need two columns. So we will give one FR and one FR for our columns. And for our rows, I will give property grid template rows, and there are three rows, so 2 FR, 0.5 FR, and 3 FR. Let's save this. Now we have our rows and columns. Let's save this. So I have saved this and let's check it in the browser. So as you can see, there is some changes in the layout. So if I check the final layout, it should be like this. The title should be here, image should be in the second row, and then there is some text, then subtitle, and there is some more text. But here, if you can see, it is looking weird, but we need to fix it. So we need to make all the elements to be fitted in their place. For this, we need to go to Visual Studio Code, and the About Us title is at the correct place. If you can see, this title is at its correct position, but the image should be in the second row and first column. So it should be in the second row and first column. So here we need to access the class section hyphen image. So we need to give this class. So let's go to index.html and here is the image. So here we need to give the class as section hyphen image and then alt tag. So we missed that img. Let's save this and here in section in this class we will give grid hyphen row and we need this image in the second row. It will start from second row and we need to make it till end, so -1. Let's save this. Let's go to the browser and check. So right now the image is at the correct place. Now everything else is also at the right place. As you can see, about us title, image, some text, subtitle, and text. About us title, image, some text, subtitle, and some more text. So now all the elements are at their correct place. Now only thing we need to do is styling. So let's do that. So first we will style this title. So let's go to Visual Studio Code and in project2.css I will access the class section title. I'll give a padding of 25 pixels. Then font size is 5 rem. Font family is Roboto. Then text transform is uppercase. Then we need font weight to be 100. Let's save this and let's check in the browser. So here we go. We got this title exactly the same, okay, which is in the final project. Now let's go to Visual Studio Code. So if you can see here, this image and text does not have a gap in between. So we need to fix that. So here in the About Us class, we will give grid gap Okay, grid gap, we need 20 pixels. Let's save this and let's go back. So as you can see, we got a gap in between the rows and columns. Okay, so now we will style this subtitle. Okay, so for that I need to access a class sub hyphen title, and font family is Roboto. Then font size will be 2 rem. Then text transform will be uppercase. Let's save this and let's check it in the browser. So here it is. We got the subtitle. Now we need some magenta for this text. So for that we need to access the class, which is, let's see which class we need to access. So this class, okay, we need margin for this class, this paragraph. So we need margin for this paragraph. So I'll grab this class and here I will write dot and I'll paste that class name. And here I'll give margin top. I need 20 pixels, so 20 px tab. Let's save this and let's go to the browser and check. So we got this margin from top, which is 20 pixels. So this is how we can create a nice looking template. So in this way we have completed the second project, and I'll see you in the next video. Till then, take care and bye bye. Hello friends, welcome to this third exercise. In this exercise we are going to build this blog post layout, which will have this navbar, this sidebar on left, then our main content in the middle, and sidebar on right. So let's talk about grids. I have two rows. One will be the navbar and the second will be the content, which includes sidebar on left and right and the middle content. And if you talk about column, we have three column, one FR, three FR, and one FR. And whole this container will be display grid. And in the last, we will style this layout. So let's get started. So let's go to Visual Studio Code. And I have done the setup for this project. We have Google font, then we have a base CSS link, then we have project3.css. Okay, right now this is empty. Okay, so let's go back to project-3.html. I have a class with a container in this body. Okay, so inside the body, I will take a div with the class navbar. Then I will take a div with the class sidebar left. Then I'll take a div with the middle content, sorry, content area. Then a div with the sidebar right. Let's save this and let's check it in the browser. So here is the layout. Okay. So right now you won't be able to see anything because we have not added the content. Okay. So let me write some CSS. Okay, for the container class. So let's go to project-3.css and here I'll take the class container, and inside this I'll write display grid, grid template columns. That will be one FR, three FR, and one FR. Then we have grid template row, which is 60 pixel on top, and the rest of the content will be auto. Okay, because we don't know how much content will be there. And third is, and the last one is grid row gap, which is 20 pixels. Okay, let's save this and now let's go to the browser, and if I right click inspect, let's see what we can have. So here, as you can see, so this is the navbar, sidebar, content area, sidebar right. So this navbar should have a full width. So for that, I can give grid column 1/-1. So let's do it. Let's go to Visual Studio Code, and here I will take the class navbar, because here, as you can see, we have given a class navbar. So dot navbar, and here I will give grid column 1/-1. Okay, and let me give some background color. So background will be hash 0098FF. Then box shadow will be 1 pixel, 10 pixels, and RGBA will be 0, 0, 0, and 0.5. Okay, let's save this. And now let's go to the browser. So as you can see, we have a shadow and a color, but there is no text inside this. So let's add all the content and then we can style our grid. Okay. So let's go to project 3 HTML, and here I will take h2 tag, and here I will write nav bars. Okay, save this. So now you can see we have a nav bar, but we'll style this. Okay. Now inside this left sidebar left, we need to add UL. So I'll take UL, and inside this I will add li, and we need some text. So lorem 2, sorry, this is not the right thing. So lorem ipsum, okay, and then we need to multiply this by 10. So we need 10 li's, okay. So I'll press tab. So we have 10 li's, okay. Let's save this and check it in the browser. So we have 10 li's. Then in the content area, okay, let's do for the right sidebar also. So UL, and inside this UL I'll have li, and here I need post, 5 post I need. So post dollar, and this will be into 5, and I'll press tab key. Okay, let's save this and let's go to the browser. So we have post 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then in the content area we have title. Then what we have title, we have image, and we have some text. Okay, so let's do it here. So here I'll take a div. So I'll take a div with a class title hyphen area, and here I'll take a div with a class post title, and I'll write the title, stay connected on YouTube, grab latest update every week. Okay, then I will take a div with a class post hyphen image, and I'll press tab key, and inside this I'll take image. So image src equals to http colon slash slash pixum dot photos slash 850 slash 400 question mark image hyphen 1073. All tag will be post image. Okay, let's save this. And then lastly, we have some content. So here I'll take a div with a class content, and inside this I will take the tag and some text I need. So lorem 20. Okay, then I need some more text. So lorem 40. Then I'll have some p tag. Again, I'll have p tag with lorem 20. Okay, so let's save this and let's see in the browser what we have. Okay, so we have some content with an image. This image is not the same, but okay, fine. We need an image. Okay, so that's it. But now we will see the grid system. So let's inspect this element. And as you can see, we have a navbar. So first we'll check the container. So we have a container with display grid, and then we have a template grid template column with 1 FR, 3 FR, 1 FR. Okay, the top row is 60 pixels and the rest is auto because we don't know how much the content is, and there's a gap of 20 pixels. Okay, then we have a navbar. So we took grid hyphen column 1 slash minus 1 so that our navbar should have a full width. Okay, then we have a background and box shadow, which we have this. Then we have a sidebar left. Okay, here we don't need to style for anything for grid because it is auto aligned. Okay, so we don't need anything for content. Also, we have not wrote anything for grid because it is auto aligned, and same thing for right side, sidebar right, so it is auto aligned. Okay, so now the last thing is we need to style this layout. Okay, let's style this content. So first we will style the navbar. So let's go to Visual Studio Code, and we need to come to project /3, and here I'll add some color which is white, and then padding, which will be 10 pixels and 25 pixels. 10 pixels from top and bottom, and from left and right 25 pixels. So here we are. Okay. Then we need to style the sidebar left. Okay. So we have a class sidebar left. So this is the class. Let's copy this class and let's paste it here. And we need to give padding, which is 25 pixels. Then we need to style the LIs. Okay. Let's save it and let's check. Okay. Now we need to style this LIs. So for that, we need to write sidebar left UL, and inside UL we have LI border bottom, which is 0.5 pixel solid, hash 487 E P0. We have padding from top and bottom 10 pixels, and from left and right 7 pixels. Okay, let's save this. Now we have this styling which we have here. So this is matching. Okay, then we need to style the content area, which is this one. So we need to style the title. So for that, here is the title. So let's style it. So I need to write title, text transform, which is uppercase. Then we have font weight, which is 100. Then we have padding, which is 18 px, 5 px, and 20 px. Then we have color, which is 666. Okay, let's save this. Let's refresh it. So let's inspect it. Why we are not getting. Okay, so the class name is post title. Sorry. Let's save this. Now, one second. Let's inspect this class post title. Okay. Okay, we need to add h1 tag. Okay, fine. Sorry for that. Here we need h1 tag. So now, as you can see, we have this title. Okay. So now it is looking fine. Now, what else we need to do? We need to style this content. Okay. So for that, and I need some margin for this. So this gap is not fine. We need to add some more gap. So post image, and I'll write margin bottom, which is 30 px. Okay, save this. Now we have a gap. Now what about this? Let me check. We need to add a break. So let's add a break here after p tag. Save this. Let's go to the browser. Okay, so here you can see we have a space in between all the paragraphs. Now we need to style this right sidebar. So for that we have a class sidebar right. I'll copy this and here I'll paste it. First we'll give some padding, which is 30 px. Okay, then we will give some, one second, let me paste it. For li we will give some css. So border 1 pixel solid, and here I'll write ea okay. Then minimum height I'll give 120 pixels. Okay, sorry. Then box shadow will be 1 pixel, 5 pixel, and RGBA will be 0.5. Margin bottom 10 pixels. Okay, let's save this. So right now, as you can see, we are getting these boxes. Okay, similar to this. So in this way, we have completed the styling for our layout, and I hope you got it how to style this layout, and I hope you got the grid system for this blog page. So this is it for this video, and I'll see you in the next video. Welcome back to another lecture. In this video, we are going to create this exact same layout using grid area name. For that, we need to go to Visual Studio Code, and inside CSS underscore layout, I'll create a new file and name it as grid-area.html. And we need a starter code, so I'll write HTML colon and tab key. And this title, I will change it as grid area name. Okay, let's save this. And inside body tag, I will take a div with a class wrapper. And inside this, I need 5 more divs. So div into 5 and tab key. So here quickly, I will add class names. So class equals to header. Then we need class equals to post. Then class which is equal to comments. And then we need a class which is equal to sidebar. And then class footer. Okay, equals to footer. Let me save this. And inside the head tag, I will take a style tag. Here I will access the class wrapper. And inside I need a property display grid. Let's save this and let's click on go live. Let me copy this and I'll go to Firefox and here I'll paste it. Right now you will not be able to see anything because there is no content. So let me add some background color for all these classes. So I give some colors, give some background colors. So header, background, and the color is hash D6 A4 A4. Okay, let me copy this. And we have post. Okay, here I'll add some content. So header, post, comments, sidebar, and footer. Let me save this and let's go to the browser. Now, as you can see, we got the background colors. Now let's make all the content in the center and the color should be white. So for that, I will access the class wrapper and we need to style the div inside that. So div and we need text align to be center and color is white and I need a font size of 25 pixels. Let me save this and now let's go to the browser. Okay, so as you can see, we got the text in the middle and the color is white and the font size is also increased to 25. So now we will use grid area name to create exact same layout. Okay, to create our layout using grid areas, first we need to define our grid areas. So for that we have a property called grid hyphen template hyphen areas. And inside here, we can define our grid areas. But before naming our grid areas, first let's preview our blog post layout. So for that, we need to go to the browser and I have two columns but the first column is larger than the second one. So I can say that the first column is 3 times more larger than the second one. So in total, I have 1, 2, 3, and 4 columns. And if we look at the rows, our post div is 3 times more larger than header and footer in height. And if we look at our comment div, it is also 2 times more larger than our header and footer. So we can say that we have total 7 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So now we have 4 columns and 7 rows. So now let's go to Visual Studio Code and define our names for our grid areas. So now we know we have 4 columns and 7 rows. So first, let's complete our first row. In the first row, we have the header. So let's define the grid area as header. So I'll write header. As we know, we have 4 columns and our header is occupying the full width of our grid container. So I will write header 4 times. So header, header, and one more time header. And here I need to use double quotes. Okay. So now we can say that our header is spanning 4 columns. And if we want to write second row, we need to use another pair of quotations. So here we will use another pair of quotation to double quotes. And now for the second row, we have post. To define grid area for post, we will use post. And we also have sidebar. So let me minimize this so you will have a clear idea. So as we know, our post div is spanning 3 columns. So we need to write post 3 times. So post and one more post like this. So now we have 4 columns. 3 columns are reserved for our post and 1 column is for sidebar. So moving to the next row, here we have to define second column again. Why? Because our post block is 3 times larger. So here we need to write. So let's copy this and I'll press enter and I'll paste the same code. So again we need to write post, post, post and sidebar. So now we have completed 3 rows. Now for the fourth row we need to write the same codes. So I have already copied the code and I'll paste it. So we have completed the 4 rows and even completed our naming for post area. Now our next row is comments. For that I will name it comment. So here I will use another quotation and here I will write comments. And we also have sidebar. So sidebar. But as you know, we have to define 4 columns. So I will write comments 3 times. So comments and comments. So again, we have to use the same code for the next row. So let's copy this and I'll press enter and I'll paste it. Now we have finished with comments. So the last row is footer. So here I'll press enter, double quotes, and I'll name it as footer. And as you know, we need footer as full width. So I will write it 4 times. So footer, footer, and footer. So now we have our grid areas with names. Now if I save this and if I go to the browser and check our page, it will look something like this. And even one more property I need to add in this wrapper class, which is height. So I need height as 100 VH. Let's save this. Okay, so now it is perfect. So now we will use these names which we have created. So let's work on header first. So here in the header class, I will use a property which is grid hyphen area instead of grid hyphen row. Okay, and here I will write header. Now let me save this, and as you can see, it occupies the 4 columns. And why we added header? Because here we have defined header. Okay, so now for the post. Okay, for the post we will write grid hyphen area and the value is post. Okay, So let's save this, and as you can see, it occupies 3 columns. And now for comments, we will use grid hyphen area comments. We save this, and as you can see, the position of comment has been changed. Now for sidebar, we will write grid hyphen area, which is sidebar. Let me save this. And now for the footer, we will use grid hyphen area footer. Let me save this. And now we need some gap in between all the rows and columns. So for that, here I will give the property as grid hyphen gap, and we need a gap of 20 pixels. Let's save this. Now, as you can see, we have added the gap as well. So let me minimize this and let's check this out. So we have completed our layout exactly as the final layout. Okay, this is how we can use grid area names to create a layout like this. So if I go to Visual Studio Code and if I make it bigger, so this might look confusing for the first time, but if you are used to it, then it will be more easier, because here you have to define all the names and then you can use it here instead of grid row and grid column. So this is it for this video, and I'll see you in the next video. In this lecture, we are going to build our layout using grid line names. We will be making the same layout, but this time using grid line names. So let's go to Visual Studio Code, and I'm going to create a new file inside this folder. So for that, we need to click here, and I will give the name as grid-lines.html, and I'll press enter. So we need the starter code. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this entire code which we use for grid area.html. So I'm going to copy this. I selected all and I just copied, and here I'm going to paste it. And we need to do some changes. So we don't require grid template areas, and in all these classes like header, post, comment, sidebar, and footer, we don't require grid area because we are not going to use this. So let's remove this. And here I will give grid lines name. Okay. So let's save this and let's run this file. So right now it is looking something like this, but we need this kind of a layout. So let's go to Visual Studio Code. So in the wrapper class, I will use two properties, grid template rows and grid template columns. So let's do that first. Grid hyphen template rows, and the rows will be 1 FR, 3 FR, 2 FR, and the last one for footer is 1 FR. And grid column will be, I'll show you the layout. Okay, first let me write the property and give the value. Columns are 2, so 3 FR, and the second column is 1 FR. So let me save this and let's go to the browser. So here, as you can see, our layout, here is the layout which we want to achieve. So we wrote 4 rows. Okay, we need 4 rows, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we have 2 columns, 1 column and 2 column. So the first row I took 1 FR, right? And the post height is big, it is 3 times the header, so I took 3 FR. And then for comment, it is 2 times the header, so I took 2 FR. And the last footer, I took 1 FR. Okay, so we need 4 rows and 2 columns. So this one, the width I took is 3 FR, and the last one for this column, I took 1 FR. So this is how we have to give the property and the values. Now we need to first name our grid lines. For that, let's look at the layout. So we have header, post, comment, sidebar, and footer. And these are our grid line numbers. So first, let's name our grid line number 1. So let's start with row grid line 1. We will call as header start, number 2 as header end. But as you see in layout, this is also the start of post. That's why we will give it as post start also. After that, at number 3, we will give it post end. And again, also starting of comment, so we will give it as comment start. Moving down, we have footer. For that grid line, we will give it as comment end and footer start. And after the footer, we'll give the name as footer end. Now it's time for columns. We only have two columns, so the first one will be called as call hyphen one hyphen start, and the second one will be called as call hyphen one hyphen end, as well as call hyphen two hyphen start. After the call hyphen two hyphen start, we will name it as call hyphen two hyphen end. So this is how we will name our grid names. So this might be confusing for you. So let's implement so you'll get a better idea. So let's go to Visual Studio Code, and here in wrapper class in grid template rows, for creating grid line, first we have to create a square bracket. So I'll create a square brackets, and inside we will write our grid line name without quotes. So the first one was header hyphen start. Okay, then after this we have header hyphen end, and we also named it as post start. For that we need to give a space, and then we need to write post hyphen start. Then here we give the name as post hyphen end and comment hyphen start. Okay, then we have comment hyphen ends and footer hyphen start, and in the last one we need to write footer hyphen ends. So this is how we need to give the names. Okay, let me close this so it will be bigger. Okay, header start, then header ends, post start, then post end, comment start, comments end, footer start, and then the last footer ends. And now for the column we need to give square brackets, and inside we will write call hyphen one hyphen start, and after that we'll give square brackets, and here I'll write column one hyphen ends end, and space call hyphen two hyphen start, and the last one is call hyphen two hyphen end. So now let's save this. Now let me minimize this so you'll get a better idea. So this was our layout which we wanted to work on. Let me close this. We only need grid lines.html, and after this we need to tell our divs from where to start and where to end. So we will start with the header. So instead of numbers, you will be writing names. Okay. So in header class, we will give the property as grid hyphen row. So as you have seen the first previous lectures, we have given the line numbers like 1/2. But here we will give the name like header start slash header ends end. Okay, and for row also, for this was for row, and now for column we need to give call one start, and we need till end. So call hyphen two hyphen end. So if I save this, now as you can see, it is spanning four columns and it is having a full width. So header is having the full width. Now for post, again we need to take the property as grid hyphen row, and here we need post start and post end semicolon, and for column grid hyphen column call hyphen one start slash call hyphen one end. Okay, let's save this so it is at the correct position. Now let's see for comment. So grid hyphen row comments start and comments end semicolon, and grid column will be call one start slash call one ends end. Okay, let's save this. Now as you can see, the comment has moved down. Now for sidebar, I'll write grid hyphen row, and now we will start from header ends. Okay, so header end slash till footer starts. Okay, footer start semicolon, and then for column I'll write grid column call to start slash call to end. Let's save this, and now last is footer. So grid row footer start slash footer end. Okay, and grid column is call one start slash call to end. Let me save this, and right now you can see the footer is a full width, but we are missing the gap. So let's check. Gap is 20 pixels. So here is the mistake, a small mistake. Here we need to only put end, not s. Okay, so let's save this. And now if you can see, oh, there is still some mistake. Let's go to Visual Studio Code and footer start, footer end. So here also comment end, start, and okay, let's save this. Now as you can see, there was a spelling mistake. I have put S after end, so we don't require that. So now we have achieved our layout. So let me make it bigger. So in this lecture, you have learned how you can name your grid lines, and after that, you can use these names inside your grid row and grid column property. So this is it for this video, and I'll see you in the next video. Welcome back everyone. In this lecture, we are going to talk about implicit grid and explicit grid. For the demonstration of this lecture, let's go to Visual Studio Code, and we are going to use this code which is having grid template columns of 150px 3 times and grid template rows 150px of 2 times. So I'm going to copy this code. For that I need to select everything, and then I need to copy this, and I'll create a new file inside css underscore layout folder. So I need to click on this new file, and then I will give the name as I means implicit hyphen explicit hyphen grid dot html, and I'll press enter, and I'll paste the code which I have copied. Let me save this, and let's close this file, and let's click on go live. So I need to reset this template, so I'll go to Visual Studio Code and I'll make some changes. So now I have reset the template. So now we will start discussing our implicit grid and explicit grid. So what is explicit grid? So here as you can see, we have 3 columns and 2 rows. It means that we have defined it 3 columns and 2 rows. Now if I change the layout to 2 columns, for that I need to remove this. Okay, now we have defined it to 2 columns. Let me save this, and let's go to the browser. Now it has 2 columns and 3 rows, but here we define only 2 rows. Okay, so here I have defined only 2 rows, but here it is showing 3 rows. So why the third row came? So this is the thing we are going to learn. So let me minimize this, and let's bring it here. So, and let me close this. Okay, now it is much better. So in our layout, we have defined 2 columns, so we got 2 columns. But for row, we have defined only 2 rows of 150px each, so we are getting 2 rows, but this is only enough for 4 items. What about the 5th and 6th item? You can say that our third row is added by CSS, which is called implicitly. Because we have defined 2 columns and 2 rows, it is called explicitly. and this too we did not define it and added by CSS, so it is called implicit. So we can say that third row is implicitly added by CSS. As you can see the layout, the third row which is implicitly added by CSS does not look the same as our explicitly defined grid items. For that we have a property to handle this kind of stuff, and that is grid auto rows. Okay, and the second one is for column, which is grid auto columns. Okay, so using this we can change the height and width of our rows and columns. For row the property is grid auto rows, and for column the property is grid auto columns. So let's define it for auto rows. I want 100 pixels. Okay, so 100 pixels, and for column also I will add 100 pixels. Let's save this, and now as you can see third row is taking the effect. So now let's make it 150px and let's save it. Okay, so now we have defined the rows and columns for the third row. So one more question may arise is that if CSS is adding them implicitly, then why they are added as row? For that there is another property called grid auto flow. This property is by default set to rows. Okay, so if I add row and if I save it, nothing changes. But if I change it to columns, only column, and if I save this, now as you can see one more column has been added. So here is item 1, item 2, below that item 3, item 4, item 5 and item 6. And if I change it back to rows and I save it, so here as you can see item 1, item 2 are side by side, then item 3, 4, 5, 6. In column it is item 1, then below there is item 2, item 3, 4, 5 and 6. So the position is different for rows and columns. So now you know how you can handle implicit items using these two properties, grid auto rows and grid auto columns. So this is it for this video, and I'll see you in the next video. Hello friends, welcome back. In this lecture, we are going to learn how you can align grid item inside your grid areas. And in the next lecture, you are going to learn how you can align tracks inside your grid container. So let's start this lecture by copying this code, okay, from this file. And now I'll create a new file and name it as align hyphen grid items dot html. And here I'll paste the code, and let me close this file. Let me close this as well. And here I'll reset the code. So let's remove everything from here and let's save it, and let's open this file. I'll write align grid items and press enter. Here I need to write 150px. Let's save this. So now I've reset the code. So we are back with this code. Now let's start aligning item. For aligning items in your grid areas, we have two properties. First one is align items and second one is justify items. The difference is align item is used when you want to align items vertically, and justify item is used when you want to align horizontally. First, I will use align items. Okay, so here I need to write align items. Because we are aligning all the items, we have to write this property inside our grid container. Okay, in my case, I have a div. So here you can see I have a div with the class container. So I am going to write this property inside this container. Okay, and the value for this property is stretch, start, center, and end. First, let's write start. And if I save this, all the items in our grid area is placed at the top of the grid area. To check this, let's inspect. And here I need to select this div container. And as you can see, this is our grid area. And inside that, our item 1 is placed on the top. In the second column, item is placed on the top. third column, fourth column, fifth column, and sixth column. Okay. And now if I change this property, let's change the property. Let me open Visual Studio Code. And here, if I change the property to end, and if I save this, now all the items are at the bottom. So if I select this, so as you can see, item 1 is at the bottom of the grid area, item 2 is at the bottom, item 3 is also at the bottom, 4, 5, 6, all are at the bottom. And now let's check center. Okay, so if I write here center and if I save this, now all the items are at the center of this grid area. So these are vertically centered in our grid area. And last one is stretch. Okay, so if I write stretch, so this is the default value set by CSS Grid layout. So if I save this, we will get the result like this because it stretches all the items to fit the grid area. So let's make it to start. Okay, and if I don't put anything, okay, if I don't put anything, it is by default stretch. Okay, so here there is no need to put stretch. So let's make it start. Okay, if I save this, now all the items are at the top of the grid area. Now let's check the second property which I told you, which is justify item. So justify is used to horizontally align grid item. So let's write justify items, and first we will start with the property end. So sorry, this is a property and this is the value end. If I save this, now if you look at our layout, our item is placed at the end horizontally and at the start vertically. Okay, because we have used the property align item start. So it is at the top, and justify item end, it means it will be at the top end corner. Okay, now I will change this to start, and if I save this, now our items are at the left corner and at the top as assigned in the CSS. Now if I make this center and if I save this, now this will be in the center. Okay, it is horizontally in the center of this grid area, and by default it is stretch. So if I write stretch and if I save this, so right now it is stretch. So by default it is stretch. So nice thing about this property is that we can use center and center. Okay, so if I use the center, and here also if I write center and if I save this, this item will be horizontally and vertically in the center of this grid area. Now you can also assign individual items with two more properties, which are align self and justify self. Like previously, align self is used to vertically align item, and justify self is used to horizontally align the items. So let's try, we will use it on item 1. Okay, so here I will use, let's say I want to change the first item, so I will write align self, and here I'll write end. If I save this, now this item is at the end. Now I want this to be on the right side. Okay, so horizontally on the right side. So justify self end. Okay, if I save this, now this is on the right side, right corner, and at the end. Now if I change this to start, if I save this, now it is on the left corner. Okay, and if I change this to start as well, and if I save this, it will be on the top right corner on the left hand side. And you can make changes to all these items individually by using align self and justify self. But if you want to change all the item at once, then you need to use align items and justify items. So in this lecture, we have learned about four new properties: align items, justify items, align self, and justify self. And their values are stretch, start, center, and end. In the next lecture, we will learn how you can align tracks, means, rows, and columns inside your grid container. So see you in the next lecture. Bye bye. Welcome back. In this lecture, we are going to learn how to align tracks inside grid container. And tracks is our columns and rows. First, let's create a file for this lecture. So I'm going to copy this code from align grid items. So let's select all the code and let's copy this. And here in this folder, CSS underscore layout, I will create a new file and I'll give the name as align grid hyphen tracks dot html, and I'll press enter and I'll paste the code which we have copied. And let's save this. Let me close this, and we need to run this file. So this is already running. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this name align grid tracks. Okay, so now here I need to do some changes. So let me make it smaller and let me close this. So here we don't require all this align item center and all. Here also we don't require this. So let me save this, and now we are back to normal. So in this lecture, we are going to look for two properties, align content and justify content. Just like previous lecture, align content used to align tracks vertically and justify content is used to align tracks horizontally. So let's get started. For this lecture, we need to give a height. So here I'll give a height which is equal to 100 VH, and let me save this. So now as you can see, our grid container has full width and height, and this is our row track and this is our column track. So let's start with align content. So inside our container class, we will give a property align content. And for this property, we have values center, start, end, space between, space around, and space evenly. So let's first use center. So I will give the value as center. And now if I save this, it is align our all tracks vertically into center. Now let's change this to end. And if I save this, now our tracks are at the bottom of our grid container. So let's change back to center and let me save this. So there is another property which is called justify content. And this property also have the same values as align content. So let's first use center and let me save this file. So as you can see, our tracks are in the middle of our grid container, both horizontally and vertically. So now let's change this to start and let me save this. So now it is at the left corner. And now let's change this to end. Let me save this. Now it is on the right side. Now it is on the right corner. So justify content is used to horizontally align our grid tracks. Now let's look at the last three values. So in justify content, I will use the value as space between. And let's save this. As you see, our all the grid tracks have the space in between. So first column track is placed at the left hand side, and the last one is placed at the right hand side, and the middle one is in the middle. And now if I change this to space around and save it, now what happens in space around? So let's check by inspecting it. So right click and inspect. And now we need to select this container class, and here we need to be on the layout and we need to check this. So let me minimize this and let me uncheck this line numbers we don't require. Now we can see our grids clearly. So what space does, it creates a space around grid tracks. On the left side we have a space of this size and also on the right side. But on the right side it looks more wider than the left side because item 2 also have that space on the left side. That's why space of item 1 on right side and space of item 2 on the left side creating this wider space. Then this is also same for this one, and item 3 we have same space on the right side and same space on the left side. So let's close this, and the last one is space evenly. So let me give space evenly, and if I save this, what it does, our all the tracks have the same space on the side. So let's go to Visual Studio Code, and now we can also use here in align content. So here I'll write space evenly and let's save this. Now if I inspect this and if I select this, now as you can see our tracks has same space, okay, same space vertically. So let's close this and let's change this to space between and let's save this, and here also I'll change it to space between and let's save this. Now as you can see the layout is changed. So you just need to keep in mind that align content is used to align your tracks vertically and justify content is used to align your tracks horizontally. So this is it for this video and I'll see you in the next video. Welcome back to another lecture. In this lecture we are going to see how we can handle content. So let's create a new file. So here in my CSS underscore layout folder, I'll create a new file and I'll give the name as working with content.html and I'll press enter and I'll copy the code from here. So let me select all the code and I'll just copy this and I'll go to the new file and I'll paste it and I'll save this and let me close this file. Now I'll minimize this and I need to change the name of this file, which is working with content and I'll press enter. Okay, so now let me close this and we need to make some changes to bring the template back to the normal position. So if I save this, so now the template is back. So before learning how to work with content, first let's look at min-max function. As the name suggests, it gives rows and columns minimum and maximum values. So let's see how it works in columns. So we have 150px, 150px and 150px. So first I'm using min-max function. So I'll write min-max for the first column. And I want minimum width of this column to be 150px and maximum width to be 500px. So inside this parentheses, I will write 150px for the minimum value and 500px for maximum value. So now if I save this, the first column looks larger than the other. Now let's inspect this by right click and inspect, and let me minimize this and let's take this to right side. And now I will start minimizing it. I will shrink the browser. Okay. So as you can see, the first column is minimizing and let's check the width. So if I select the first item, so you can see the width is 377. Okay. So let me minimize more. So now it is 281. Let's shrink more. And now the width is 150. So now if I reduce, it won't reduce the column because the value which we have set for the first column is 150px, okay, minimum value, and the maximum value is 500. So if I increase the browser size, so as you can see, the first column is getting increased. So now the value is changing to, now it is changing to 356. So till maximum it will go till 500, then it won't change. So this is the maximum 500, and now if make it bigger, it won't change because the minimum value is 150, so it won't decrease beyond 150, and the max is 500, so it won't go beyond 500. This is how min-max function works, and with the help of min-max function, you can define minimum value and maximum value for your rows and columns. Now let's move on to content. So let me close this and let's go to Visual Studio Code. So I'll go to Visual Studio Code. So first I will add some content to our first item. So let me remove this and lorem 15 tab. Okay. So let's save this and we got some content, and this 150, I'll come back to 150px. Let me save this. So this is our normal template. So there are two properties for content. First one is min content and the second one is max content. So first let's use max content. So here instead of 150, I will write max content and I'll save this. So as you can see, the first column is expanding whatever your content is. It will maximize to that area and there is no line break. So if I go back to 150, so as you can see, there are line breaks. If I use max content, so there are no line breaks. And if you use max content, then it expands according to your content. Now let's try min content. So I'll write min content and I'll save this. So now as you can see, our column is minimum. But how does it calculate the width? So let's see that first. For that, I'll remove some content which I don't require. So let me remove this and let's save this. Okay. So now I will show you how the column find out its minimum width. So if you can look at the text, so this one is the largest text which we have in this column. So the column takes the width of this word as minimum width and other words will also fit because all other words are smaller than this word. Okay. So min content uses minimum value required without overflowing, but as you can see, it overflows. The text is overflowing. It is coming out of the column because we give min content to column. So here, as you can see, we give min content to column. We have not given min content to rows. That's why it is not overlapping horizontally, but it is overlapping vertically. So we need to fix that. To fix that, we need to give min content to rows also. So if I write min content and if I save this, now all the content is fitted in this column and the height is taken according to the content. First, it was like 150 px. So we have given a fixed value. So it was overlapping. It was the content was overlapping. But once we give min content, and if I save this, now it is increased. Now all the texts are fitted in this column. Okay, because of this property. So this is how min content and max content work. So this is it for this lecture, and I'll see you in the next video. Welcome back. In this lecture, we will learn how we can create responsive design using CSS grid layout. So first I will create a new file. For that, I need to go to my folder CSS underscore layout and here I will create a new file with the name responsive.html and I'll copy this code from our previous file. So I'll selected all the code. Let's copy and close this and I'll paste it here. And we need to save this as well. And here I will change the name to responsive. Okay, now we need to close this as well. And I'll do some changes to make it normal. So 150 px and here also I'll change it to 150 px. Okay, and here I will remove this and I'll go back to item 1. So item 1, save this and now we are back to normal. So in this lecture we will learn about autofit and autofill which will help us to create our responsive design. So first let's look at autofill. So here I have 3 columns of 150 pixels each. So I can use repeat function. So here I'll write repeat 3 and 150 and I'll remove this 2. I don't require it. Okay, let's save this and there will be no changes. So here I will use auto fill. So I will remove this number and I will write auto hyphen fill. So if I save this, all these grid cells are placed in a single row because of this auto fill. And if I check out the grid container, so let's inspect and let me bring back to bottom. Okay, and here if I click on this, so we have total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 columns. Okay, so for the sake of this lecture, let's define a width to the grid container. So here I'll define a width of 1000 pixels and let's save this. Okay, And one more thing I need to change. I'll make each cell to be 100 pixels. Okay, let's save this. So now our grid container has a width of 1000 pixels and our grid cells has a width of 100 pixel each. So let me remove this gap, and if I save this, now as you can see our layout has now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 tracks, or you can call it as 10 columns. The reason I removed the gap, because if I keep the gap, let's keep the gap, okay? So let me show you. So if I keep the gap, so then we will have only 9 columns, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay. This gap occupies from this 1000 pixel. Okay. So that also counts. So it only gives us 9 columns because of that gap. So that's why I have removed this grid gap. So now we have 10 columns. So let me remove this. Now we have 10 columns. Okay. So now instead of autofill, we will add autofit, and let's save this. So as you can see, now our grid container ends at here. And if we look at the layout, we only have 6 columns. So whereas in autofill, we had 10 columns. But if you look at the line numbers, so let me click this. So if you look at the line numbers, as you can see, it shows 10 columns. Because CSS grid layout set their width to 0, that's why we are not seeing all that columns. And our grid layout ends here at 6 column. So what is the difference between autofill and autofit? So let's change this to autofill and let's save this. So autofill reserve the space for other columns, and autofit uses the space at it requires. Therefore, it does not create extra columns. So how does it helps in our responsive layout? So for that, we have to use min-max function as well. For that, I will also make this width relative to 100%. And here we need to add min-max function. So min-max, and the minimum value will be 100px and the maximum will be 1fr. And here we need to write auto fit. So let me save this, and now as you can see, because of 1fr unit, all the 6 columns are equally divided. And now let's test our responsive layout. For that, we need to minimize this, and here is the responsive design mode. So we need to click here. Okay. So if I click here, as you can see, here it is written responsive design mode. So once you click, it will be active. Now you can check the responsive design. Okay. So right now, let's say the width of the browser is 822, and if I start decreasing it, okay. So now you can see it is getting decreased to 660, 640. Once it will reach below 600, then you will notice that the item 6 will be pushed to second row. Okay. So let me minimize this, and now it is 600. Okay, 600 or below 600. Now the item 6 is on the second row. Because the width of the browser is less than 600, all the 6 columns won't be fitted in that area, so it pushes it down. Okay, now if I decrease it more, once it will be less than 500, then item 5 will also come down. Okay, because it won't fit. Now if I shrink down, it will come down. Let me minimize it more. So now it reaches at 2 columns. Okay, because the browser width is 300. Now it has become 2 columns and we got implicit rows. So let's format that as well. So the property for that is, let's go to Visual Studio Code, and the property for that is grid hyphen auto hyphen rows, and the width is 100px. Let me save this. So now as you can see, okay, we need the rows to be 100%, 100px. So I'll change this to 100, or you can keep it 150. Okay. If I save this, now everything is looking good. Now we are back to normal. So now let me decrease the size of the browser. Now we have only 1 column and 6 rows. Okay. So if you can see here, there are this is single column and we have 6 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because now it is less than 200, so it does not fit two items of 100 pixels. So now let's go back. So let me make it bigger. Okay, so now again we are back to 6 columns. So in this lecture we have created responsive layout using autofit and min-max function. So this is it for this video, and I'll see you in the next video. Welcome back to another lecture. In this lecture, we are going to build this section, which is called product section. In this section, we have images, product name, and product price. This is a simple layout, but it should be responsive. So let's check that. So if I right click and inspect, and if I go to responsive design mode, so here it is, you can see this layout should be responsive. Okay. So let's go to Visual Studio Code. And here I have created project 4 folder in my main folder, which is CSS underscore layout. And here is the project -4 folder name. And inside that I have a HTML file with the name project -4. And I have completed all the setup with all the URLs. Okay. And then we have a project -4.css as usual, which we have done for all the projects. Okay. So we need 8 images, product name and product price. So let's quickly add content inside the body tag. So here I will take section tag with the class products. And inside section tag, I will take a div with the class product -1. And inside this div, I will take image tag src, which is equal to http:// dot photos slash 300 slash 200 slash question mark image, which is equal to, and the image is the value is 554. Okay, and we need to close this image tag. Then we need h3 tag with a class which is equal to product name. So here I'll give product name, and then I need a span with a class product, sorry, with a class price, and price should be $10. You can put any price you want. So let me save this. And now we need 8 images. So I'll just copy this div and paste it 8 times, 7 times. Okay. Then here I will need to change the class name to product 2, product 3, product 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Let's save this, and now we need to go to browser, and here I will write the name of the file, which is project-4.html. Okay, so it was in the project folder, so project-4 slash project-4.html. So we got all the elements here. Now we need to do some styling. So first we will do some styling for our body tag, so which is having a class container. So let's go to project-4.css, and here I'll access the class container, and we need to give font family as Roboto. Okay, let's save this, and now as you can see, this section can be our container because inside this we have all our grid items like product 1, 2, 3, 4. So we can use this section as grid container. So here we need to access the class which is products, and here I'll write display grid. Okay, display grid, and then we need grid template columns. And as we look at the layout, the final output, we need, okay, let me change this to normal. Okay, so we have 4 images side by side, so we can use as 1fr, 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 1fr. But instead of that, We will use repeat, autofill, min max function, and minimum size of the image will be 325, and then the maximum will be 1FR. So let's do it. Okay. So here I will add repeat, then inside this parentheses, I will add autofill for responsiveness. And after that, I will add function min max. And inside this parentheses, I will add minimum value of image, which is 325 pixels, and 1FR will be maximum width. Okay, so let's save this and let's go to the browser and check. So this is my layout. So as you can see, we got all the images side by side. Okay, and let's check the responsiveness as well. Right. So let's check. So once I minimize, you can see it is responsive. So let's get back to the normal one. And now we need some grid gaps and alignment. So for that, we need to add some properties. So grid row gap will be 3 REM, and justify item will be center, align content center. Okay, let's save this and let's go to the browser and check. So now everything is aligned in the center. So now we need to give some space between the image and the product name. So here, as you can see, we don't have space, that much of space like this. And the product name is also looking good here, but in our case, it is too bulky. So let's grab the class name, which is product hyphen name. So here it is product hyphen name. So I need to copy this class and I'll go to the CSS file, and here I'll paste it. And inside I'll give font weight as 300, and then we need margin top, which is 1 REM. Okay, let's save this and let's go to the browser and check. So now, as you can see, our product name has some space and the font is looking much better. Now we need to make product name and price and this image in the center. So we need to access this classes, which is product 1, product 2, product 3, product 4, product 5. So instead of giving one by one all the class name, we can write something like this. So here in square brackets, I write class into equals to product hyphen. Okay. Now inside, I will give display grid and align item center, justify item center. Okay, let's save this and let's go to the browser. Now, as you can see, our image, product name, and the price is in the center. Now, only we need to change all these images like this. So, which is not necessary, but still I will do the changes. So here we need to change the numbers. Let's save this and let's go to the browser and check. So right now we got all this different images. So you can give any number you want. So let me give something else. So it is just a dummy images. Okay. So this is it for this lecture, and I'll see you in the next video. Welcome back to this lecture. In this lecture, we are going to make this layout, which we have already created in project 3, but this time this layout should be responsive. So if I shrink down, so at the point of 1200, so let's see here at the point of 1200, when it hits 1200, this right side bar should fall down, okay, and it should be full width. So let me shrink it, okay. So now it is reached to 1200, and here you can see the right side bar has been fall down and it is shrinking. So now the next breakpoint is 998. So if I shrink down to 998, okay, so 998 or below that, so the left bar, so the sidebar left will have full width, then our content area should have full width, and then the right side bar should have a full width. So in this lecture, we are going to make this layout responsive. So let's go to Visual Studio Code, and I've already created project 5 folder, and in this is the starter template. So here I have added all the required things like URL and all, font font family and all that stuff. And project5.css is empty. We need to write some CSS here. And for this lecture, we are going to use the code from project 3. So let's go to project 3. Let's first copy this CSS. So I'll select everything and I'll go to project5.css. I'll paste it, save this, and then again I need to go to HTML, and here I'll copy this div from here till here. Okay, let's copy this, and here I'll paste it. So let's save this and let's close this file. And now we need to go to okay, so we need to go to the browser. Okay, so I need the URL, so let's click on go live. So here, as you can see, we got this layout, but it is not responsive. If I click on responsive, so here you can see this is not responsive. It should, the right side panel should come down. So now for that we need to use media query. So let's go to Visual Studio Code and let's go to project5.css. And one more thing, here we don't require this because we have given padding for navbar. So if I comment out this, if I save this, and if I go to the browser, nothing changes. Okay, everything remains the same. So we don't require this line of code. And let's write the media query. Okay, so at the rate media all and max width, which is equal to 1200 pixels. Okay, once it will hit 1200 pixels, then we need to access a class of sidebar right. Okay, and the properties for that will be grid column. It will start from first column and it will be till the end. So if I save this and if I go to the browser, let's refresh. So here, as you can see, it is going down, but we need this content area to start from the second column and it should be till the end. So as you can see that the sidebar will start from column 1 and it is reaching till end. So same thing we need for content area, but it should start from column 2. So content area grid column start from the second column and it will be till the end. Okay, let's save this. And this classes here are the classes: sidebar left, content area, sidebar right. So I'm accessing this class. Okay, so don't get confused. So as you can see, now it is started from the second column and it is spanning till last. Or if you don't want to give 4, then you can give -1. So this is also a right way of doing it. And now we need some space for our content area. So let's give some space for our content area. So dot content area, and we need to give some padding of 15 pixels. Let's save this. Now refresh it. Okay. One more thing we need to do. This image is not responsive. So let's access the image tag. And here we need to give width, which is equal to 100%, and height should be auto. Save this and let's go to the browser. Now as you can see, we got the padding and the image is also responsive. Now everything is working fine. Now once we hit at 998, the left, okay, so 998 or below that, this left side panel should be full width, and this content area should also be full width, and this right panel should also be full width. Okay, so let's go to Visual Studio Code, and here we need to write media query. So add media all and max width, which is 998 pixels, and here we need sidebar left, then we need content area, then we need sidebar right. Okay, for all these three classes, we need grid column which start from first column and it should be till the end. So -1. Let's save this and let's go to the browser. So now as you can see, if we hit 998 or below that, so everything is fallen down. Okay, so if I increase it, now only the right side panel is fallen down, and if I make it less below 998, so all the content is responsive. So in this way, we can have a responsive layout while adding some logic to the code, by adding some logic in the CSS. So this is it for this video, and this was the last project for our course. So this is it for this course. Just practice, and you can make a similar kind of layouts, and you can just post it in project area. And I'll see you in some other lectures, and I'll see you in some other course. Till then, take care and bye bye.